Welcome to A Healthy Curiosity, the podcast that explores what it takes to be well in a busy world with self-care strategies from Chinese medicine. I'm your host, Brody Welch, here to support you on your journey of health, happiness, and personal evolution. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Brody Welch, and with me today is Dr. Mariza Snyder, who is a wellness practitioner and author of 6 books, including one on the DASH diet, the DASH diet cookbook, the Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils, the Low Glycemic Index Slow Cooker, the Antioxidant Counter, the Water Infusion Detox book, and the Matcha Miracle. So a whole wide variety of topics. Today, I'm going to pick her brain about essential oils for women's health, which is the topic of a new book that she has coming out soon. Dr. Mariza Snyder has been a lecturer at wellness centers, hospitals, conferences, and corporations talking about hormone health, essential oils, nutrition, and detoxification. And I am delighted to have her with us on the show. Welcome, Mariza.
Thank you so much, Brody. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
We've had a few shows about essential oils in the past on A Healthy Curiosity, and they've been a big hit. And yet everybody's kind of got their own spin on them and how they use them and different favorites. And so I'm excited today for a deep dive into essential oils for women's hormones and for other conditions. Love to hear a little bit about what might be in the Smart Mom's Guide as well. So I'd love to hear about your journey and how you got to doing what you're doing now with essential oils.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking me. And so, I always tell people I come from a lineage of hormone chaos, and I really felt the brunt of that in my late 20s and early 30s, where I was starting my practice. I had a lot on my plate and I was taking on more and more because I think, like so many other women, we just take on all of these obligations. And the last person I was thinking about was myself. And little did I know, I wasn't really paying attention to the warning signs, the extra weight gain, the mood swings, the PMS getting a little bit worse, the migraines that I was experiencing. I just kind of thought that that was par for the course of being a woman. I don't know why I have this thing where like, we just suffer it out, and in my late 20s, I only had that big health crisis moment. I remember just vividly waking up one morning after sleeping 7 or 8 hours. I've always been a good sleeper, but waking up and literally not being able to lift my head up off the pillow and crawling to the bathroom to get ready to go take care of patients who were really dealing with the same things that I was dealing with, and thinking to myself, like, how am I going to get up and serve these people when I literally can't move? I was dealing with horrible chronic exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, and a slew of other things. And really, my hormones were completely out of whack due to the way that I was treating myself and not really focusing on my own personal wellness needs.
What you just said about like, we just tough it out and, like this is just part of being a woman, and like, I can so relate. And the idea that our culture a lot of times normalizes these things like, oh yeah, it's just normal cramps, normal PMS, normal migraines. No, it's like, no, these things aren't normal just because they're common.
Right? And women really honestly feel like we should just suffer it all out. And, it's so interesting to me when I connect with women, a lot of the shame, a lot of the guilt, so much that plays into this, and a lot of that plays into the way that our hormones function. I was really feeling it. And I remember thinking to myself, it was such a taboo conversation even a couple years ago about how to really truly heal and get our bodies back on track, that it took me several months to really learn, the right supplements. And really the big lesson for me was self-awareness. Like, there were so many signs that I could have taken a moment and really gotten myself out of the danger zone had I just paid attention to my body and listened when my body said no more. And clearly it definitely said no more that day.
Well, yeah, you not being able to stand on a walk to the bathroom in order to get yourself ready to go treat people, like that, yeah, that's your body screaming pretty loudly.
Yeah, it felt like a cement on my feet. And everything was just, you have those days and days of no sleep, that heaviness of just not being able to move no matter what. That's what it felt like.
That sounds utterly awful. And yet a lovely invitation to look at, like, at that point, it seems that there's no pill you can take that gives you back health after, something like that. You really have to start seeing your body and your symptoms as a message, as opposed to something to be medicated away so that you can go on living your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was no amount of coffee in the world
No.
that was going to fix that problem.
No. So what did you learn in your research and digging into this a little bit with yourself
Absolutely.
as a case study?
Well, one, I knew I needed to turn things around. I mean, that, it's so interesting. It was kind of my bottom. I wanted to continue to serve my patients. I had literally just started into practice. I was so excited about it. But a big part of that, I mean, nutrition has always been foundational for me, and I was putting the wrong fuel into my body. So I was turning around nutrition, and I knew a lot about nutrition at the time, but I wasn't practicing what I preach. But also, I was working out with these heavy boot camps. A lot of the things I was doing were really stressing the system, and it was just tipping. So I learned I had to step away from those hardcore boot camp workouts. I was hiking, I was doing yoga, I started using essential oils. I started having an evening and morning ritual that really set the tone for my day. And I started taking, I used supplements. I used a lot of supplements to get my body back on track, to really heal those adrenals and to kind of get the stress off the system. And I had to reframe the way that I was living my life. Clearly, the way that I was functioning was not going to work for my body's longevity. So there was a lot of things I was carrying that weren't serving, that I just picked up because I felt like I needed to do them literally out of obligation. And I talked to so many women who feel the exact same way. So letting go of a lot of that heavy weight, of the tasks, of the obligations, and just saying no to those things was just huge, because I could then focus on the things that made me happy and really focus on getting my body back on track.
Yeah, that sounds really important to pay attention to. So in terms of getting yourself back on track, were essential oils part of that mix as well?
They were over time. So initially I didn't know about essential oils, but it wasn't too long ago when a good friend of mine introduced me to the oils. And again, before that, it was all about supplements. It was all about nutrition. And I still believe that those are so core and foundational. I had no idea the capacity of essential oils. I was a biochemist for 5 years prior to becoming a practitioner. So I was so research driven. And so when I got my first experience with an essential oil, I used this citrus and mint combination. Because I will tell you, I am my mama's daughter, and I'm always looking for more sustainable energy, or energy that doesn't require coffee and sugar and some of the negative energies that we create in our body. So I was looking for a little bit of like an energy boost, maybe not every day is the best day. I mean, most of the time I have insane, incredible, sustainable energy. Some days, it could be an emotional situation, or it could be just too much on my plate. I definitely feel my energy waning. So she hooked me up with a peppermint and a mint oil. And I could not believe I just felt more invigorated. I had this mood boost. It was like this abundant experience that I was having. It was like this instant energy. I was like, what is this stuff?
And were you breathing it in or putting it on your body okay.
Aromatic. So I'm such a proponent of aromatic usage. Really the fastest way to get into the body, into the brain, is going to be by using it aromatically, just by breathing in essential oils. So I was doing direct inhalation, which means I was taking a drop of each, rubbing my palms together, and then just breathing them in with 3 to 4 deep belly breaths. And I've been doing that every single day for years now.
Oh, that sounds so energizing, like especially that citrus mint combination. I do want to circle back. I was distracted there for a second.
Sure.
I want to circle back to what you said about letting go of stuff that you were doing out of obligation. I just feel like that point needs to be underscored and highlighted with neon signs directed towards it, because that is something that, you've got to plug the leaks first in order to pay attention to what matters most. And then you have a prayer of being able to fill up the well, so to speak. And so I feel like I didn't want that to escape unnoticed, the importance of doing that first. And then you've got your supplements, and then you've got nutrition, and then layering on essential oils as a way of helping to heal yourself. Citrus mint, very energizing. And in Chinese medicine, so I love talking to somebody who's like a biochemical researcher, someone whose worldview is very different than mine, because I think of essential oils as fragrance qigong, right? Of ways of moving energy in the body. And citrus and mint both move energy upward and outward. And so they have this lifting, energizing sort of I can't stop moving my hands as I talk about it in this sort of upward, outward, scattery direction, that idea that's what it helps us do. It helps stimulate. And it's why it can be so good for pathogens on the surface that we want to basically kick out of the body, but also to just bring our energy and awareness when we want to move upward and outward. We want to feel more cheerful. We want to feel more energized. Those are two of the best ones. We want to feel brighter.
Absolutely. And I love that. It's so funny. I always go to the science. I'm always like, what are the chemical constituents inside of this oil that is driving this energetic experience? And I'm like, oh, it's monoterpenes. Oh, and then it's alcohols. I'm just like, but I love that concept. And one of the things I've learned about essential oils, since we're on the topic of energy, is that when you measure, you measure us, a lot of people don't recognize that we are energetic beings and energy is healing. But essential oils have a really powerful, level of healing energy. They rank up on the megahertz of energy at such high volumes, like frankincense being really high in energetic capacity, and rose oil. And I've just seen, over the years, I've seen these oils transform people's lives. I know we're not talking about that today particularly, but
well, I'd love to get a little clearer like that. So we are, by the time this episode airs, we will have aired an episode from Robin Openshaw talking about her book Vibe, all about the sort of energetic frequencies. But for people who might not have caught that episode, or for whom might be a new topic, vibrating at, hertz is this very physics sort of orientation. What does that mean for us?
So that's a great question. So what that means for us, I always think about, when we're transferring information through neurotransmitters, with the synapses and our neurons, that we're transmitting energy. And so we as human beings, we run anywhere between, I know she did a much better job explaining this because it's what her book is about. And oh my goodness, grab that book right now. But because she's a good friend of mine and I've been with her on this energetic journey for quite some time. So fun that we get to talk about her for a minute. But so we, as human beings, we've been measured with megahertz of energy that we run around 65 to 70 megahertz when we're really healthy beings. And what we find is when we're sick, if we're dealing with cancer or autoimmune condition or something where it's really just dragging our energy, our cells, our mitochondria are not functioning properly, they're not able to receive messages and just really connect on that level, we drop anywhere between 40 to 20 megahertz of energy, which is super scary. And what we've learned, not only is food like kale and antioxidant driven foods are phenomenal for raising up that energetic capacity, but essential oils are by far some of the most energetic healing modalities and tools that we have. And the most energetic plant in this world is rose. And when you're talking about, let's say like a 5 ml bottle of rose oil, if it's pure rose oil, we're looking at 242,000 rose petals. That's 8,000 roses in this little teeny 5 ml bottle.
No wonder it's so expensive.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Outlandishly expensive, right? Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. If you're finding a rose oil less than $200 to $300 a 5 ml, then it's not what it is. I don't know what they put in there, but it's not
right.
So, but it's because, that oil is just so precious and it radiates this level of energy. So I have a lot of clearly patients and people in my life who are fighting cancer. And one of the oils I'm always recommending to just really help support that energetic capacity to raise up their megahertz of energy, especially if they're as low as like 20 megahertz, is to use an oil like rose or to use an oil like frankincense, because it could shift the way that our body is utilizing that energy and rise it up. I unfortunately do not know as much of the physics around it as Robin does. I definitely have done my research and I know enough to be dangerous. I'll admit that right now. I definitely know more about the chemistry of oils than I really understand their energetic property, but I can feel their energetic property. And I know that there is some good research rooted around this topic.
Yeah. And certainly as herbs, I think about that in the Chinese medical lineage, that there's things like frankincense that have been in the pharmacopoeia for thousands of years. And we use them for, there's always been a spiritual overtone to it, but it's also a powerful blood mover. And it's also, anyway, that things that have had a history of traditional use that we can look at in terms of how it supports the body. And just there's so much overlap between how things have been traditionally used over the millennia and what we're discovering scientifically are things properties now. So,
absolutely right.
Rose
there was always something to them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know that there was something to them after they've been used for tens of thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thousands of years, really. But yeah, I love frankincense. I love that oil.
It's such a good one. And so, what are some of your other favorites for hormone balance?
Absolutely. It's such a great question to ask. I definitely do have some phenomenal favorites. When I think about hormones, I also, a lot of it is being driven by stress. So it was no surprise to me that when I was having very similar symptoms to my patients, that stress was very much the culprit. And what's been so intriguing to me is the research around essential oils and emotional well-being and the ability to reduce stress levels, cortisol levels, pulse, and heart rate and also pressure when you're using essential oils. So two of my favorite go-to oils for hormones is really two oils that I utilize a lot for rituals, for self-care, and for reducing stress levels. Because, for me, what was driving that adrenal fatigue was my miscommunication around that HPA axis, that my body kept interpreting that there was a tiger or fire, in my vicinity, when all it really was is that I was late to the office. You know what I'm saying?
Not a life-threatening emergency, but perhaps threatening to your sense of somebody who is always on time, or your sense of yourself as a professional, or it was you not meeting your own internal standards. This episode is brought to you by 11 Weeks to Level Up Your Life, my self-care boot camp and support group. Are you tired of the integrity gap? That difference between what you know you should be doing to take care of yourself and actually doing it? If so, you really belong in this course. You'll be joining an incredible group of conscious people who are serious about upgrading their food choices, feeling more comfortable in their bodies, trading stress for ease, meditating daily, making time for what matters most, and coming into better alignment with their own values. There's only 2 or 3 slots left, so if you want in on this round, visit brodywelch.com and schedule your free discovery call. I'd love to talk to you.
Exactly. And your brain just doesn't know the difference between a tiger and you being late. We just have old chemistry, especially when it comes to brain chemistry. So it hasn't caught up with our times, our modern times of just like, I'm late. And so the two go-to oils that I absolutely love, especially combining those two. And I love these two because they're affordable. They're easy to get your hands on. If I had to add a third, it would definitely be frankincense too. But my two go-to oils is lavender and bergamot. Mm-hmm. These are gorgeous and they're calming. I love to diffuse them together before going to bed. And what I love about bergamot in particular is it's known as the oil of self-love and self-acceptance, which is what I feel like we really struggle with and why we continue to put our health second tier when it comes to supporting our families and our community.
Where does that come from, by the way? I think of neroli as self-acceptance and self-love. That one to me is like a hug from the inside. It just feels like the most sweet, nurturing self-acceptance kind of oil. And it's very similar to bergamot.
Absolutely. Well, neroli is the flower blossom of the bitter orange tree, right? Mm-hmm. And such a gorgeous oil. That is actually one of my go-to oils right now. And neroli is phenomenal for postpartum depression, anxiety. And we see it for PMS, perimenopause, and menopause. I mean, neroli is a major player in the hormone world. It is definitely a more expensive oil to get your hands on. So I'm always mindful of that. I'm always like, okay, what is the oil we can get women to use that isn't going to break the bank, Mm-hmm. But bergamot, so interesting because I think that they both could be considered an oil of self-acceptance, and something about the chemical constituents of bergamot that make it so calming. It's a little bit different than other citruses. Oftentimes other citruses like grapefruit and tangerine and mandarin and wild orange, like a sweet orange, very invigorating and uplifting, whereas bergamot is very calming with its chemical constituents, relaxing. And it's just, when it comes to emotional well-being, that oil has been studied so much that women really resonate with that experience, but they absolutely resonate with that same experience with neroli as well.
Yeah, I see that clinically. That a lot of times when people show up in my clinic and they're nervous about getting acupuncture, one of the first things I'll do is I'll offer them some bergamot and just put it on a point, often the calm spirit point in the ear or sometimes on the inner wrist. And it's like I just watch their whole system soften into a state of relaxation.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, how can you not? I mean, just that oil is just so divine, each of those. And as we move into other hormone oils, I think about clary sage. Clary sage is such a gorgeous oil. We know it can help balance hormone levels, estrogen and progesterone. It's great for cortisol as well. So it's great for lowering stress levels. I use clary sage and thyme for helping to support progesterone levels in the body. And it's a great, great oil overall. So it's one of my go-to oils. And then geranium. I think geranium was really truly meant for women specifically. Geranium is, yes, phenomenal. It loves the liver. It is great for skin. It has so many multifaceted, just its ability to really serve women. I call it, it's one of my go-to women oils.
And when you use geranium, this is again the direct inhalation method of like put on your palms, rub them together, inhale.
Yeah, I mean, I love, for me, I love to combine them so much. It's so interesting. Geranium oil is such a strong oil, and it definitely can be a little bit much for people. I feel like it really softens up with other essential oils. And so I oftentimes pair it with other oils, and I can definitely share with you my hormone support blend if you like.
Ooh, please do. I'd love that.
I'm just grabbing it right now.
Geranium straight up is always a little cloying for me.
Yes.
But when I was first introduced to it, it was actually in the context of helping people quit sugar. That geranium can be one of those powerful for the pancreas, powerful for helping to regulate blood sugar when put on the inner arch of the foot. That I've seen people have some success with that, which is cool. But so I'd love to know what you combine it with.
Absolutely. So this is my hormone synergy blend, and these are really combining all of my go-to hormone oils. The only one I haven't talked about yet is ylang-ylang. And ylang-ylang, it's just such a heartfelt oil, but also it's a libido booster.
Oh, yeah.
And my mama always says, put ylang-ylang on your ylang-ylang. And it's just like, it's so funny. Like, with a lot of coconut oil, Mom.
Right. Direct application of essential oils. Yeah. Let's dilute.
But she claims it works. I'm just like, well, I'm not going to recommend that.
Right. Exactly. Experiment at your own risk.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no, ylang-ylang is definitely, we would consider it a kidney support oil in Chinese medicine, or really that kind of like for people, I love it for people who have had traumatic experiences where their bodies don't feel safe, as a way of like, just that it can remind us that the body is a safe place to be, especially with things like rape and sexual assault, that there is that reclaiming of your sexuality. If that's been scary or traumatic territory in the past, it can be really awesome.
I agree. A good friend of mine, she was also sexually assaulted, like so many of our friends and family members as women, but she is an essential oil lover, and she's done so much research around essential oils and trauma, particularly around sexual trauma. And ylang-ylang is on her top 5 list.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really helping to support. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I don't do those presentations myself too often, because she's really my go-to girl. But I've sat through enough of them, where I know enough, and I just love that oil. And also when people, any kind of trauma too, I have found that this is such a comforting oil to connect with. Okay, so my blend, here we are. So it's a 10 milliliter roller bottle, because I love rollers. I carry rollers everywhere because they're just so easy to apply, and I love easy. And so in this 10 milliliter roller bottle, it is 10 drops of clary sage, 8 drops of lavender, 8 drops of geranium, 4 drops of bergamot, and 4 drops of ylang-ylang. And then whatever coconut or whatever fractionated oil you want to use, whatever carrier oil I mean. So it could be coconut oil, almond seed oil, jojoba oil, whatever you prefer. And then you just add the oils in, top it off with the carrier oil. And I normally recommend over pulse points, over the ankles, neck, wrists, 2 to 3 times a day.
Wonderful. I love having that recipe. That's really fun. And I love all of those oils. Does it matter which order you put them into your bottle?
I do like them in the order that I've suggested. So clary sage first, lavender second, geranium, then bergamot, and then ylang-ylang.
All right. Yeah. So that's an awesome recipe. Are there different considerations depending on what hormones need balancing?
Definitely. So this blend in particular, for me, when I created it, my concern was like estrogen dominance and helping to support balancing progesterone levels. But also I wanted to consider, adrenals as well. So this is very much an adrenal support blend too. But the great thing about it, because I did combine some of my go-to researched oils, I feel like it really does create synergy in the system. If I were to create oils just for, like I have essential oil blends specifically for ovaries, or I have them for fertility, like my go-to oils for fertility, which we've had great success with, it's going to be clary sage and thyme oil. And I don't have all those blends in front of me, but I can definitely share them.
I've heard thyme linalool particularly for hormone support. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I think actually that thinking more holistically and contextually around the body and around essential oils, that we can break out of that, like, but what's the oil for cortisol, or what's the oil for whatever? Because of course, hormones themselves all interplay with one another, and you can't really affect one without tinkering with the entire mix, ranging from the adrenal hormones to the sex hormones to even insulin and things like that. It's all going to be interconnected. And that we've evolved with these plants so that if we smell something and it feels relaxing to the nervous system, right away we're starting to shift our relationship with stress. And right away, a lot of people don't necessarily get the connection between the fight or flight stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline and how that impacts estrogen and progesterone, because the body's always going to prioritize survival over having babies. And it's the kind of thing where it hasn't necessarily trickled down into the awareness that most women have necessarily of what could be going on with their cycle.
Absolutely. Well, I always want to just make sure that people understand that essential oils are not hormones specifically, but they're, like you said, there's an interplay with the way that our hormones function, with the way that we're interpreting our environment. And so one of the ways that I love to use essential oils supporting women's health is really through rituals. I think daily habits is where we really move the needle in terms of creating the body that we want, feeling good about our bodies, feeling good about taking care of our bodies. And so it's one of the best ways I love to use essential oils is through self-care, through creating healthy habits, and through utilizing these rituals that can be, so indulgent, making wellness really fun and making our health a priority in a really fun way. And, more and more research is coming out about oils and hormones, but we know that there's this gorgeous interplay that happens where we're seeing these really positive changes happening in women due to just utilizing these oils to make wonderful lifestyle changes.
I am so glad you brought that up. The importance of simple rituals. It could just be, massaging your feet for 2 minutes a night, with an essential oil mixed into it, or taking a bath, or there's so many different ways that we can, just even applying essential oils to a washcloth and breathing it in the morning, like taking literally the extra 30 seconds for yourself or the extra 2 minutes to wind down. That these little things are a way of reinforcing the fact that we are actually worth taking care of.
I think that is the biggest message for me to really, connect with women about, is that we're worthy of being taken care of. We're worthy of taking care of ourselves. And for me, how I convince women of this is that I just remind them that at the end of the day, we're always going to serve our family and our community. But it's really difficult to show up and serve people when you are not feeling well, when your body is just not functioning the way that you want it to. I know that you and we serve our patients so much better, the people in our lives so much better when we have the energy and the capacity to do so. If I was sick all the time or I was run down, I just can't show up the way that I want to show up in the world.
You mean the crawling to the bathroom phase wasn't really best serving your patients?
No,
that's shocking.
Crazy. It was a shocking experience that I learned. And so I always recommend women to have a morning routine. The moment that we get on our computers, we check our phones, we get into our emails, you've literally given away your time and your priorities to somebody else. Someone else has just grabbed up your time. Their priorities become your priorities. So how do we honor our wellness? How do we honor that morning? And, from making a green smoothie to having tea or warm water with lemon to running your diffuser with your favorite energy blend or morning blend to having a little spritzer in the shower. I have my bergamot and lavender spritzer in the shower. It's so easy to just spray it, just around your environment in there.
Yeah.
For that reset. And then have an evening routine. So we're not just racing into the bedroom every single night and you're wondering why that mental chatter just won't turn off. What is going on here?
Right. And that idea that we're not machines, that actually giving ourselves a chance to wind down, that these subtle messages to our subconscious via our limbic system, via essential oils, can be a really lovely way of helping us do that. And I love that you brought up the right to take care of ourselves, and that when we do, everybody else benefits. That's one of the whole reasons this podcast exists, is to remind people of that. And at my website, brodywelch.com, if you haven't already grabbed your Right to Take Care of Yourself manifesto, you can get one for free. And that's available to, again, put on your fridge or above your computer, or just to remind ourselves that, we're worth taking care of. Absolutely.
And it's a constant reminder, even ourselves, those who educate about this. It's a good reminder. Probably one of the biggest reasons why I talk about it so much is it's just a constant reminder for me to continue to do that good work for myself.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, because it helps remind me that it's true. This thing that we tell our patients all the time, it's absolutely true. Any last little bits of advice before we bring things up to a close here?
Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to, I know essential oils can be, for me, they're not scary to use or play with, but I know that some people are always kind of wanting a little bit more information. It's new territory. There's definitely a lot of essential oils out there. And I've got a great reference book, The Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils, to really help women start that journey. But, I wanted to just mention really quickly, just the easiest way to use these oils, is getting a diffuser. They're super affordable. They're easy to find. They're everywhere now because essential oils have just blown up super crazy. But just get a diffuser, pick a couple of oils, high quality oils that you love. If it's energizing, mints and citruses are phenomenal. If it's calming, some of the florals like Roman chamomile, lavender, clary sage, and just start diffusing them in your home, diffusing them in your office, wherever it is that you want to just connect in with just feeling good. And just see how it kind of starts to shape yourselves and your family's lives. I think you're going to find, even the husbands, I know they're the most critical people in the house, but I think you're going to find is when you start diffusing these oils, you're going to see a major shift in just the emotional well-being and the overall contentment inside of your family's homes. And I have tons of wonderful diffuser recipes in the book, and it goes into all different ways to begin to utilize essential oils to really make over your cleaning cabinet, your medicine cabinet, your hormones, your mood, name it. They can be utilized for so many wonderful benefits. Because Brody, as you mentioned, we have been adapting and connecting with plants for so long. I mean, they're really our true medicine cabinet when it comes to getting the body back on track. So that's what I wanted to just leave you with, is how simple it is to get started and really reaping the benefits of what they can do for you and your family.
Such a totally empowering message, really easily done. And we'll make sure that we have links in the show notes, both to your book and to some essential oils, some good quality providers out there. So if people want to learn more about your work, I know that your book that's coming out soon is going to be called what exactly?
That's a great question. So it is called the Essential Hormone Solution 14-Day Reset. So it's 14 days to reset your hormones using essential oils. So it'll be coming out actually the end of 2018. So we're about a year out, but no worries. But if you want to check me out, you can just go to drmariza.com. We are constantly sharing wonderful information and tons of recipes put to use. So it's drmariza.com. I have a wonderful energy guide up that you can grab if that's what you're looking for up on the front page. And so excited for you to stop on by.
Wonderful. Mariza, thank you so much for taking the time to share what you know with us here at A Healthy Curiosity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening today. For more episodes of A Healthy Curiosity, you can visit the iTunes store. If you appreciated today's show, please leave us a review. This helps other people to find the podcast. You could also head to brodywelch.com, where you can find free self-care resources, learn more about Chinese medicine, and let me know what you'd like to hear about on future episodes. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, be good to yourself.